Blessed to be with you. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Out to David Bozell joining us from foramerica.org. David Bozell, good to have you with us.
Good morning. Good morning, Boise and points beyond.
It's always a pleasure to have you on. What have you been up to?
Working hard, playing hard, talking immigration. President wants to unveil new immigration plan this fall, kind of a rehash of what he announced in the spring, but it got some legislative text to it. So talking to those guys about trying to see if we can get that advanced in a divided Congress. No small task.
Well, indeed. And then when you think of what's happening with, I don't know if you saw that clip of AOC with the ice guy yesterday.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. And look, you and I have some miles on the odometer, but you really talk about putting a kid in front of the candy store with no training. That's what we saw yesterday, and this seems to be the future with the Democrats.
This is the second time that he has owned AOC in like 6 months, and has gone viral. She just continues to amaze with her inadequate levels of intelligence with how she approaches these issues. But in a lot of ways, though, she is the face of the modern Democrat Party. And frankly, she may be the intelligence level of the modern Democrat Party. I mean, this may be the zenith for these guys. It's kind of amazing to watch. It's not that difficult. If you come armed with your facts and you're prepared, it is not that difficult to make her regret taking you on. And so a lot of people kind of get scared, particularly a lot of members of Congress, Kevin. A lot of members of Congress just don't want to go after AOC at all because they just think, oh, well, she's got this massive social media platform, therefore I can't win. And they don't want to challenge her on her sort of ridiculousness in her ideas. And it's a shame. And it's kind of the old guard within the Republican Party that just doesn't want to do that sort of thing. But it's a real shame. President doesn't. President takes the opposite approach. Let's counterpunch as best we can, and let's sell our policy prescriptions and our solutions, and put her on defense. And I think that's one of the things that he's brought to the Republican Party, just this attitude of stop playing defense, be on offense. And this guy from ICE, did the same thing. And like I said, it's just not that difficult. You just got to commit.
David Bozell joining us for America, foramerica.org. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's talk about John Bolton getting it. John Bolton loves doing talk radio, loves being on the scene. What do you make of that breakup?
Kind of surprised it lasted as long as it did. It's obvious that the sort of conservative movement construct does not have someone to provide the president that kind of thinks of these issues the way he wants to think about them. And what I mean by that is he very much, and he said it, he very much believes in being face to face with these guys, with our adversaries, and trying to figure out a deal, trying to figure out an agreement. Very much believes in that. And, there's just sort of maybe perhaps that Reagan conservative movement construct that just is used to not doing that. And now, I suppose we could debate the merits of it, but the reality is that he's going to continue to want to do that. Now, I wasn't a huge fan of bringing the Taliban over to Camp David, right before the anniversary of 9/11. That seemed ridiculous. Especially right so close to the anniversary of 9/11. That just seemed just not the smartest of moves. But if you're going to be in that spot, in the National Security Agency spot, and whether you disagree with him privately, you can't do stuff like cancel media appearances because you disagree with the president, which is what apparently, reportedly, John Bolton did. He would just cancel one Sunday show interview after another because he couldn't go on the air and defend what the president wanted to do. If you can't do that, Because your job is to basically get these things in order, negotiate these agreements if that's what he wants you to do, and then the president comes in for the signing ceremony and takes all the credit. That's the way these things are done. The
Yes.
staff and the administration handles this stuff,
Right.
and then the president, says, "Where do I sign?" But if Ambassador Bolton didn't want to do any of that, and on top of that couldn't sell the president's position to the American people, then yeah, you got to go. I mean, that's just my attitude. If you can't sell and you can't work to what the president wants to do, you have to resign.
Our great friend David Bozell joining us, For America, foramerica.org. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to the anniversary of September 11th. I loved your social media stuff on there, and it seems tragic the way we act as a country today compared to how we responded to that attack so many years ago, sir.
It would appear that way on the surface. I think if like you and me, we're just avid followers of the so-called establishment press, but you look across the social media landscape and just how successful conservative media is nowadays, and there's a thirst for coming together in a pro-American way that still exists. That I think there's just there's a fervor to rekindle what we were experiencing, post 9/11 in terms of how we all came together. The television press wants to sell divisiveness because it thinks that that's what sells. You look at their ratings and it clearly doesn't. That's why people are turning them off and going to other channels and other mediums. But yeah, the anniversary. I mean, for us, it was an opportunity to highlight some of the best shows, the best displays of patriotism and celebration of who we are, what we believe in. It's important for us to do that. It's important for us to share in the power and the glory and the joy and the happiness and the deadly seriousness of being an American, and share that with each other. And so that's what we were trying to do at For America, day in and day out.
David Bozell joining us, foramerica.org. Catch him on social media. And, of course, catch us here, KIDO Talk Radio, the KIDO Talk Radio app. Hey, you deal with a lot of young people. You're going to love this story. So, as you know, I'll be coming up to Washington in a couple weeks for the Feet to the Fire. And hopefully you and I will get together. I always say we're going to do that, and then I never contact you because I'm a wallflower. However, I reached out to our friends at the Heritage Foundation, who for years have been, they opened up a studio for talk show hosts. And, they had some internal things going on. So after the third or fourth phone call, they politely, somebody called or sent me an email back that, I'm sorry, we can't host you because we're hosting 12 podcasts. And I'm thinking to myself, first of all, it was the editor of the Daily Signal who talked to me, and she very
Rob?
No, the Katie or something like that. That's what it said, editor of the Daily Signal. Young lady. And I'm thinking, this new youth conservative movement that, their first language is social, their second language is podcasting. It's a different world. How do we reach them? Because they have a different vibe than you and I. And you live in that world each and every day.
Yeah. Look, I'm of the opinion that we are very much about to begin a golden age of conservative media. And what I mean by that is, if you look at some of the major platforms across the country, let's start with talk radio. Okay? Conservatism dominates talk radio. Then you go to cable news. Fox News, the right-wing outlet, so-called, dominates cable news. Then look at podcasts. Okay, Ben Shapiro was obviously first to market and dominates political podcasts. Conservatism, there again, dominates political podcasts. Look at conservative website traffic. Fox News is the biggest thing Facebook has. 100 million visitors to foxnews.com via Facebook a month. It's incredible volume.
Although the president is not a fan of Fox News lately.
Yeah. Well, Brit Hume was right. It's not their job to carry his water. Yeah, it's just not. But so what? So so a lot of people say, well, how can I get into the podcasting game? It seems to be where everybody's headed. Somebody said at a conference, and I loved it. Said because the criticism was there's just too many podcasts out there, and the expert said, well, that's like saying there's too many songs in music. Everyone can and should be doing it, and it is sort of the dominant sort of news and information, not dominant, but really ascending news and information consumption vehicle for young people.
To a degree, but let's face it. And look, with the exception of Facebook and a lot of others, David, you're the expert. But when you take a look at the old days, the Heritage Foundation, they were always excited about having local and national hosts there. Now it's going on to podcasting, and I'm sure they have thousands of downloads. But I guess I will be the curmudgeonly terrestrial skeptic when we take a look at the influence of social versus terrestrial media.
Oh, no, well, on that, I totally agree. It's sad to have everything beamed out of one or two cities, New York, Washington, and Los Angeles. There's virtue in having local talk radio. We should be promoting it. Heritage should. I don't want to speak for them, but
no, and I'm not bashing them. It was a learning experience for me. Actually, it was interesting just to kind of do a controlled group study with these 20-somethings. And David Boesel, again, it took us a long time in our careers to get to that influence, and maybe it's a tribute to the power of social media that you can have somebody at 21, 22 have such a big, massive audience that wasn't available to you and I back in the day.
Well, those are the opportunities.
Yeah.
And you look at the opposite side of it. Look at how the left views us. So, how many times have we heard, at a conservative movement conference or somebody make the criticism? Well, the left is better at telling stories, and the right uses fact, numbers, reason, and it just doesn't sell. Kevin, and for all your audience out there, the left wing thinks the exact same thing about us. The exact same thing. They think that we are the storytellers. They think that they use numbers and reason, and their stuff isn't selling. And there's demonstrable evidence out there across many different platforms, as we just discussed, that conservatism is taking over. Twitter is the next domino to fall. The only thing that stops us from being dominant on Twitter is that we're outnumbered. 80% of the noise is made by 10% of the users.
Yeah.
Of that 10%, 65% are women, and of that, 60% plus self-identify as raising left wing. So it's the only thing that's stopping us on Twitter is just we're just outnumbered. But it will fall. It will turn conservative, and I'll love every minute of it. As should everybody else, frankly, because this is how we're going to win the war of ideas: is to start dominating each one of these platforms.
David Boesel, foramerica.org. Once again, brother, always appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You're listening to Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Well, what kind of trouble can we get into, huh? By the way, I want to thank everybody that sent us so many compliments on our special tribute yesterday to all those that have fallen post-September 11th. We all remember what we were doing that day, and not everybody can be a soldier. Not everybody can be a part of a military family. Not everybody can be a first responder, law enforcement, EMT, firefighter. But we can all support those folks, and we can honor those people by holding their memories and keeping their memories alive when we go to the young people. This is our opportunity to save America. By the way, the nation remembered the fallen and the courage.
It is hard to believe it has been 18 years, but you have always remained in our thoughts, in our hearts, and deep in our souls.
I was attacked. Your relatives and friends were attacked. Our constitutional freedoms were attacked. And our nation's founding on Judeo-Christian principles were attacked.
This day is never, ever easy. And in some ways, we all look forward to it, to honor and respect, and in other ways, we all dread it because it brings the pain back. But what we need is this time together so we can keep healing.
If anyone dares to strike our land, we will respond with the full measure of American power and the iron will of the American spirit. And that spirit is unbreakable.
Agreed. 825 KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Some power outages in Meridian. We'll give you the details, but first, let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. You know, September 11th brings up many emotions, and yesterday at the Ground Zero Memorial in New York City, Nicholas Haros Jr. remembered his mother, Frances Haros, who died in the 2001 terror attacks. Haros spent part of his speech criticizing Minnesota Democratic Representative Ilhan Omar, who once stated some people did something when discussing September 11th.
I was attacked. Your relatives and friends were attacked. Our constitutional freedoms were attacked. And our nation's founding on Judeo-Christian principles were attacked.
You remember what she said, some people did some things, and the Council on American Islamic Relations, CAIR, was formed, even though it was happening much before September 11th, to stop these things. Of course, CAIR likes to take out talk radio, take out conservatism, and vilify people because people are afraid to voice their opinions in light of CAIR coming after them.
We know who and what was done. There is no uncertainty about that. Why your confusion? On that day, 19 Islamic terrorist members of Al-Qaeda killed over 3,000 people and caused billions in dollars of economic damage. Is that clear?
Yeah, exactly. And this is what you can do. This is what you can do when people trivialize September 11th. When people go, oh, you know, watching the TV footage, I don't really think that it was that big of a deal. 3,000 people compared to over 350 million Americans. Well, it was. And then you have an elected member of Congress spewing her hate, her ignorance. Look, we can't take to the streets like Antifa, but we can win the hearts and the minds of people by simply saying, no, this is what happened. People that lost their moms and their dads. Those of us that still have our parents, we're incredibly grateful for that. But imagine one day just gone, and that national tragedy again, over and over again.
We know who and what was done. There is no uncertainty about that. Why your confusion? On that day, 19 Islamic terrorist members of Al-Qaeda killed over 3,000 people and caused billions in dollars of economic damage. Is that clear?
Is that clear? Coming up next, they're at it again. The wacky, zany, loony libs want to take down the president. Plus, is it time to give e-cigarettes the boot? All that before Glenn Beck with me, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. Doing our very best to improve the lives of everyone here in the Treasure Valley. Don't forget, tomorrow we are at Nampa Christian High School promoting our schools, securing our future, thanks to our friends at CapEd Credit Union. Check them out today. They love the teachers. They're founded by teachers. It's all about education. Team Mazda Subaru. You're looking for a new Mazda, new Subaru. Check out Aaron and Rob. We so appreciate their great work in sponsoring our school program as we roll along into the fall school year, hanging out with the kids. It's a program that is the first and only one of its nation in the nation where 20 times a year, over, 120,000 kids we've averaged it have been impacted by our broadcast, thanks to our friends at CapEd and Team Mazda Subaru. Joining us now, Fox News Radio's John Decker, live from the very White House on KIDO Talk Radio. John, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you, Kevin. Hope you're doing well today.
Pretty good. The president in rare form calling the Feds boneheads, and they should cut the interest rates to 0 or less, and we should refinance the debt. Now, I'm sure you've heard the ads everywhere about refinance this, refinance your home. That would be a great business for somebody.
Well, look, the Fed is going to meet once again in mid-October, and they have given every indication that they're going to lower interest rates by a quarter point at their next meeting. But the president's belief is that's too little, too late. And so that's the reason why the president continues to criticize the Fed, continues to criticize Fed Chairman Jay Powell, who, by the way, was nominated by the president to that position. I think the president's kicking himself, Kevin, that he nominated him for that position. He could have actually gone with Janet Yellen and renominated her as the Fed chair, but decided to go with Jay Powell. And Jay Powell has been kind of stingy in terms of not wanting to lower interest rates until right about right now. And so as a result, the president believes that has put the U.S. at a competitive disadvantage versus Europe in particular. And that's the reason why he's been tweeting and talking about it so much.
John Decker joining us, KIDO Talk Radio, Fox News Radio. Hey, what was it like when you had the Secretary of State and I can't remember the other person in the White House?
Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary.
Steve Mnuchin. I saw the role of Keira Phillips, Mrs. John Roberts next to you, and I go, I wonder what's going on in John Decker's mind during the whole John Bolton has left, he resigned, he didn't resign routine.
Well, she was actually sitting a row ahead of me, Keira was, but in any case, to your point, it was an odd press conference in the sense that, earlier in the day we got a schedule that indicated that John Bolton would be joining both Secretary Pompeo and Secretary Mnuchin in the White House press briefing room. And then about 5 of 12 Eastern Time, we got that tweet from the president indicating that the president had accepted John Bolton's resignation. So that's why I say it was odd. So both Mnuchin and Pompeo, to me, based upon body language and the things they said, were not sad to see their former colleague leave the administration. He rubbed people the wrong way, according to the president, and that's one of the reasons why he parted ways with his national security advisor.
You've been involved in some memorable tours of the press room. How did that one rank? Because, again, it seemed, well, how did it seem, John? Well,
look, nothing surprises me anymore. But that being said, look, the press conference that you're referring to the other day was quite boisterous. A lot of yelling, just to get the attention of both Secretary Pompeo and Secretary Mnuchin. So my colleagues, I think, need to calm down. It's not like it's the last time they'll ever get an opportunity to ask those cabinet members a question. But look, I've seen this before. I've seen it play out before. It plays out almost every time the president departs to get on Marine One. And so that's the new normal for this administration.
John, what should we be on the lookout for? We hear Congress is getting ready for the impeachment stuff. How serious does the president take it?
Well, the president looks at the numbers. He doesn't take it that seriously in the sense that, right now you have more than half of the Democrats in the House of Representatives that say they want to pursue an impeachment inquiry against the president. But that's not a majority yet of the House of Representatives. And then if you were to somehow get a majority of the House of Representatives to sign on to the idea of an impeachment inquiry, again, the numbers are just not there in the Senate to remove the president from office. So I think he views it more as a headache more than anything else. But if an impeachment inquiry is launched by the House of Representatives, it will give those committees access to documents that they otherwise would not have, access perhaps to testimony that they otherwise would not have. And I think that should be a concern to a certain degree for the president going forward.
John Decker, Fox News Radio, live from the White House. We appreciate you, John. You have a great day.
Have a great day, Kevin. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And joining us now, our own John Decker, Tea Party Bob, Gem State Patriot, gemstatepatriot.com. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. How are you?
I am employed and living the dream as of 8:40 this morning.
Well, God bless you. I'm glad you're living the dream. Great show yesterday, by the way. Listened to all of it. I was on my way down to Treasure Valley.
Before we get rolling, though, a lot of folks have heard you for years, but they don't know your history and how that hit home and very emotional for you. That's why we decided not to take calls yesterday. But, I mean, that was your neighborhood. That were people that you knew.
Well, it was my neighborhood for almost 40 years. I worked out on Wall Street, and I watched them put that building up. I watched them pump concrete into the ground for 2 years, getting the foundation set on all of those buildings there. But I used to go through there every day on my way to work. Actually spent a fair amount of time in that building with friends of mine who were up on 105th floor at Cantor Fitzgerald. So it was quite a loss when 9/11 took place. Lost a lot of good friends, people I'd known for years, and it was really heart-wrenching. It was something that you don't experience or never expect to experience in your life, not here in America anyway. But again, let's just hope that we never let that happen again, and we are not surprised by these crazy people who think they can run ripshod over our country.
Now, you spend more time here than your beloved New Meadows. Maybe you should move back.
Well, I'm still moving stuff up here. That's my problem. I need to find a couple of husky guys to help me move the balance of it up here because there's not that much left, but I can't lift it all myself. We're working on that anyway. I wanted to make a few comments. One about AOC. Putting AOC in charge of a committee was just another ploy to keep the press talking about her. And now she's in the front and center position where she can beat up on the Republicans, and the press is going to eat it up. You know, this woman has no business being in charge of anything in Washington, or for that matter, any other official position where she has a soapbox to stand on. This is what happens when you have 39 Republicans, many of them longtime rhinos, choose not to run for another term, and we lose the majority. If Republican voters don't wake up, we're going to have another 2 years of do-nothing government with Congress fighting the president at every turn, leaving it up to him to hobble along without all the tools you really need to turn this country around. So if Republicans don't show up to the polls in 2020, we will have another 2 years of socialistic rhetoric, which will further stagnate the legislative process. You see a lot of these things going on in Washington, but if we're not careful and change how our legislature works and is paid, we will wind up the same problem down the road here when 4, 5, and 6-term rhinos decide to leave. The Democrats run as Republicans in disguise as they did 10 and 15 years ago. You know, if that happens, we will wind up with a more liberal form of government and probably another Democratic government. We've had 16 of them so far through our history.
Well, let's face it, the libs are surrounding us, and we don't see it coming.
Well, Kevin, you mentioned it many, many times. Paulette Jordan took 38% of the vote to Little's 59%. That is really kind of cutting it to the quick. It's showing us that we do have some problems here. Even in a primary, you had somebody like Little, one with 37% of plurality. The liberals are gaining ground in our state, and I would not be surprised if they were to run a more centered-of-the-road candidate, that they could make a close race in 2022, possibly even win it.
Well, look,
voters,
if A.J. Belukoff had won that primary, you're talking about maybe a difference of 4 to 5% between he and Brad Little, in my opinion.
Think it would have been a lot closer. There's no question it would have been a lot closer. You know, you and I have both spent time with AJ. He's a very bright guy, and I'm still surprised that Paulette beat him out. But
I'm surprised that the libs didn't seize their opportunity. They went wacko wild lefty Paulette Jordan.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the mode they're in right now, and let's hope they stay that way because that'll keep them looking in the wrong direction. While we may take the House again in 2020, I like that idea. And just a quick note on the governor of California's action on banning the disciplining of K through 8 grade was only going to drive more parents to the realization that they need to find a better place to raise their children. And lo and behold, we will have more California plates driving through Idaho looking for new homes. things are sure changing, my friend, little by little.
Well, that's why we're here, the keepers of the flame, the watchers of the wall.
Well, where are we going to go next if this all fails?
As I've told people, I had a gentleman come to town, one of the most respected people in my industry, like on the Mount Rushmore. I spent a couple hours with him, a nice young man. I've admired him for years. He was going through town and we had a talk. I'm here. I'm here as long as the people will have me. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving the New Meadows. I'm not falling back. This is it.
Well, there's a method to my madness. I do believe that the rural areas of this state,
They'll be coming for you. They'll be coming for you.
They are the conservative bastions of this state, and without them, this state would turn radically liberal.
Well,
so make sure you keep them alive and well.
God bless Tea Party Bob.
Take care, my friend. Talk to you later.
You're listening to Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Speaking of the libs, from Libville, Liberal Steve, good morning.
From Leadville, did you say, or Libville?
Libville. Libville. Libby.
Where is Libville anyway? Libville.
You're the mayor of Libville. You would know. I'm not telling you where the libs are. They're everywhere. They're like the Sith.
Know,
yes.
You finally got something right. We are everywhere. And we will take everything in 2020. And we'll take the state of Idaho with Paula on the next election. It'll be run a little bit different. We have been having the Democratic committee throughout Idaho and throughout the United States. We are lined up. We have learned the conservative way to lie, cheat, and spin, and we're going to use every ounce of what they have taught us. And that's a fact. And we're going to blow it away. And Bob's got no right to talk about AOC, okay?
Well, first of all, you and your liberal brothers and sisters will not take Idaho. You will not take the Capitol. You will not take the State House. You will not take the presidency.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Just like they dropped it to a little tiny, pretty much running a stop sign ticket.
I ask everyone in Ada County, the barbarians are at the gate. We have to stop them. We have 2 Democratic, liberal, wolf in sheep's clothing county commissioners. They must be stopped.
And they will take the ticket because they are good, honest Americans.
We have
Period.
Congressman Fulcher, Congressman Simpson. We have the governor, Governor Little. We have the team. You got someone that couldn't even fill the theater for her failed documentary, like her failed political campaign.
That happened to fall on the same day as a lot of other things. And as far as Fulcher, I mean, Idahoans really like Fulcher. We really do. But come on, he's a mommy's boy. Everybody knows it. He's not going to get nothing done. He's just going to waste our time. How he got in is because he didn't have anybody decent running against him, and that's it, period. And he likes Kevin Miller. That could be detrimental to him. And that's
well, it never ends. It never ends well for true believers. I'm words to live by. I'll tell you that. But I believe that Congressman Fulcher will continue on the conservative tradition, and it's up to all of us to say, look, we're going to have none of that here. We're not going to have the folks from California or your beloved Oregon come in here and turn us into a dope-smoking haven.
Yes, it will, Kevin. We will be a money-making haven, not a dope-smoking haven. We leave that up to Fox News and all their other people having their big parties down there, Malargo and the Epstein and billionaires. We leave all that type of dope smoking up to them. Honest, good Americans smoke the right dope, the legal dope.
They do it illegal. They do it illegally. So back to this issue. So you just came in without really an agenda. You didn't prep. You basically said, hey, I'm going to say that we're going to take over everything. So you have no content for this call.
I have been to 6 meetings on my emails from the Democratic.
Didn't the state Democratic Party hire somebody and then that person was removed or quit or left within a couple days? Didn't I read something about that? I mean, and then didn't we have somebody who was the press person for the state Democratic Party that said that she's a white person and she needs to take lessons on how to be a person? Okay, so I think her name was Sally or something like that. She lived in Middleton, and then she left the state. Yeah, that's really mainstream Idaho values, sir.
I think those were people that had to go. You know, they were like, how many is Trump fired now? Bolton was the last one. So yeah, those people have to go, just like Bolton had to go. He's not on board with the way things are.
Well, you don't cross the boss. You don't cross the boss.
That's right. You don't cross the boss. And when you're boss, you're boss. And when the next boss comes in, hey, hopefully things are better. But we got a liar and a cheat there now, and his ratings are like, you don't even have to take a poll. His ratings are in the toilet. I think they're 38%.
Are you kidding me? They love the president. We love the president.
Well, and people realize who loves him, the deplorables, like Kevin Miller and most of his callers.
How dare you?
So, how dare me what?
How dare you insult the great people of this show?
Well, I didn't mean to insult them. I just say it how it is.
Do you hear that? Do you hear that?
What's that? What am I supposed to hear?
You hear the sound of the traffic coming?
Oh, time for traffic with I can't think of traffic guy. Sorry.
With Dave Burnett. You hear that? The music playing? You know what that means.
Oh, it's time for Dave Burnett and the Aggressive Drivers. Bye, Miller.
There we have it. KIDO Talk Radio, traffic and weather together. Good morning, Dave. And Kevin Miller in the morning here. Coming up, again, something that we need to focus in on, where we have the libs, the crazy libs going after the president. Here's our own Rachel Sutherland with the very latest on KIDO Talk Radio.
Republican Tom McClintock dared Chairman Jerry Nadler to take the impeachment inquiry out of committee and onto the House floor.
You can have your impeachment and deny it, too.
Nadler said the full House is not needed.
I do not agree with the argument that the full House must authorize an impeachment investigation simply because the House did so for investigations of President Clinton and President Nixon.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has consistently resisted calls for impeachment. In Washington, Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
Thank you, Rachel Sutherland. So what they're going to do, the sneaky, freaky liberals, they're going to make sure that this impeachment hearing continues, although it doesn't go to the House floor.
Mr. Chairman, there are 24 ayes and 17 noes.
The ayes have it. The resolution is agreed to. This concludes our business for today. Thanks to all our members for attending. Without objection, the markup is adjourned.
There we have it. By the way, Georgia Republican and House Judiciary Committee ranking member Doug Collins, Rachel just referenced him moments ago.
You know, I've wanted a long time to be able to say this. Welcome to Fantasy Island. Because we're here. It may all look good. The unfortunate part is when the screen goes down, you just see a simple procedure issue. A simple procedure issue.
The media will not report that, brothers and sisters, but Glenn, Sean, and Lars will, along with us. By the way, tomorrow, Nampa Christian High School. Thank you, Nampa Christian High School, for allowing us to be guests in your facility. It's going to be great, promoting our school, securing our future. Here's Representative Nadler.
The conduct under investigation poses a threat to our democracy. We have an obligation to respond to this threat, and we are doing so. Under the procedures outlined in this resolution, we will hold hearings that allow us to further consider the evidence against the president.
There you have it. By the way, Kevin Miller sound clip of the day has to be this guy.
You know, I've wanted a long time to be able to say this. Welcome to Fantasy Island. Because we're here. It may all look good. The unfortunate part is when the screen goes down, you just see a simple procedure issue. A simple procedure issue.
Hello, Mr. Rourke. Never mind. I'm not going tattoo on the plane. God bless, Ray. Great job. Keep the faith, everyone. Glenn Beck is next.